you for making working here, but of course I don't need one.
So, I'll try and put it up front.
You have to wait for the credits, man. A lot of people work on this, you know.
All right, what about now? No. So, I guess I'll do it by my own voice as well.
Sounds like you can.
I'm Herman Braddock, the president of GLAD. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to thank Mackie and Kathleen and Anne. I hope you all enjoyed the film.
Try it out.
Can you hear me? All right. So, welcome. Thank you for an amazing film. I really enjoyed it. We were talking in the green room. It for me was, it brought up a lot about my own personal experience. And I was asking Anne, who directed the film, how it was that she came to find this project and what drew her to the project. And so I thought I would ask you that question first.
All right. Well, first of all, hi. Thank you all for being here. I just wanted to say before we started that as a filmmaker, you get a little bit precious about like how your film is kind of screened. And so whenever you go into like a situation that's not a theatre, there's always additional things going on. So there were a few things happening, like this was a bit curved so that the film didn't quite have the look it looks like in a theatre. So that just means you all have to go and see it when it comes out in the theatre so you can get like the full sound and the full experience. But you know, we're so happy for GLAD and the Gay and Lesbian Center for having us here and that you've got to see. Hopefully you could get into the story and not notice those little bits. But anyway, back to the question. I actually found this script on a site called Inktip, which is a site where writers, you know, put up their stories and producers and directors, you know, if you've had a certain level of experience, can get on and read scripts. And so this was a script that came to me from that site. And, you know, the story really spoke to me. I certainly related to aspects of, you know, growing up in a family where it didn't feel like it was okay to speak your truth and really, you know, tell the full extent of life. So it took me personally a very long time to tell my parents, you know, I had a female partner, and so that aspect of the story really, you know, just really touched me. And I liked how the story was really presented from the mother's point of view, you know, like how it might be, you know, from that perspective. So that's the aspect that I related to. But, you know, overall, I felt like the themes in the story were very relatable, whether or not these are the specific issues that have gone on in a certain family. Like you can kind of put in whatever the issue is and whatever the struggles may have been between a parent and a child, that would still kind of, the essence of it would still fit. So.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting watching the movie and watching you, Kathleen. It's the sort of feeling I got was that the mother was the biggest loss the most. You know, that the sort of effect of, you know, homophobia was the loss of the ability to participate fully in her child's life, which I think is a unique way to look at kind of the situation. I think frequently we kind of look at it from what it's like as a gay person, which is also, you know, obviously.
Well, it's true in the sense, those who feel sometimes, or it has seemed to me sometimes, that the person coming out to the family is almost the victim. And not to say, I don't actually think that this woman Eileen was homophobic. I think it simply was not part of her world. That it simply wasn't in her upbringing, it wasn't in her religious instruction, it wasn't in she was told how the world was supposed to work. And she bought it. She went with those rules and thought that by living along the lines that had been told her, life would be clear. When it appeared that that was not the case, I think her first reaction was simply not rejection, but not being able to understand.
Well, I thought there was an interesting parallel in her rejection of her son's new relationship, in the sense that she was sort of a fair broker in terms of her rejection.
If you cheat on your spouse, that's wrong. That rule was made clear. Her daughter's relationship was unclear to her and difficult to process.
Mackie is a director at Auburn Media and is a theological expert, and we were sort of talking about how these issues are really prescient, sort of Catholicism and how the Catholic Church addresses issues of homosexuality. One thing that has been commented frequently on recently is Jesus never said a thing about homosexuality, and yet for a lot of the Catholic hierarchy and the hierarchy of other religions, it's sort of a central focus, the rejection of it. How do you see this film fitting into that context?
Well, I love the film. So congratulations to both of you all. One of the reasons that I love the film is that I think that it represents so humanly the way change happens on this issue, and in general, but certainly on this issue, that it's person to person, loved one to loved one. And it's as we, on both sides of this narrative, turn toward one another, as the daughter said to the mother said to the daughter, the sister said to the mother, came over to one, you are present. And it's that presence that is the opportunity for us to see one another in all our humanity. And for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people to be seen as fully human, which is the debate that's going on right now. I mean, just as it was with African Americans in the debate around slavery and women around the equality of women, for so many Americans, whether you like it or not, that's a theological debate that's happening. What do we believe about the humanity or the full humanity of those people? And so many of us in the queer community would like for people simply to get over religion. But I think one of the beautiful things about the film is that that's not what is required of the mother, but you see two faces of religious leadership, and I can't remember his father, Father Joe, a compassionate face and a judgmental face. So at Auburn, where I work, we've been doing research for the last 18 months in Michigan to understand what the Christian case for LGBT equality is that holds up against the Christian case against it for conflicted Christian voters in Michigan as a state, as a pilot state for others. And Herndon, it really is these meta messages, the Bible, like God is love. And again, that's what you see as being the ultimate value in this universe, the love that we have for one another in our full humanity. So I think the more we see this story, and the more we tell our stories, and the more we are seen, the more those who simply have never been exposed, as Kathleen, you just said, for whom it's just not their world, they get the opportunity to recognize just who we are.
I think one of the strongest thoughts that you left with from this film is the family, the love within the family is undeniable. And they all really show up for each other, which is as it should be, I think.
It is as it should be. It's how it is in my family, which I feel quite lucky. I grew up in Alabama and I was really reluctant to come out on the basis of basically everything society taught me, to include what religion had taught me. The organized religion in Alabama said that to be gay was hard. And for a lot of people, their experience in coming out is not as good as the one projected on the film. And I think from a meta perspective, at some point our society has to stop allowing for this sort of undebated, well, the Bible says that it's not true, or the Bible says that it's bad, to be articulated in the public sphere without debate.
I don't want to be Pollyanna, but Herndon, I'm from Alabama too, and my daddy and my grandfather, my great-grandfather were all Presbyterian ministers down there. And when I came out, I really believe that this is the way that change happens. That when I came out to my dad, he struggled for 5 years, but then he realized that he was wrong. And he stood up in the pulpit and lost half his church, but also moved half of his church and a significant part of the town. So I'm hopeful, and that's what this research, and I think the statistics in America offer us. Right now, lay Catholics are voting in a majority for same-sex marriage, right now. That's how they're polling. Lay Catholics, not the leadership, but lay Catholics. So it feels like, again, as they know us, there are real opportunities cross-region for things to swing.
And GLAD, is about the media, so part of it for us is not allowing the media to portray Catholics as being the sort of totally representative of what the hierarchy is saying. The Catholic hierarchy will represent a very negative view of...
Well, this film is not about Catholicism. I mean, I think any organized religion that is exclusive, that says this is the only way, would suit as a model for this film. It's just that this is a very familiar model and one that was familiar to our writers.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it crosses a lot of, I think it could, be outside of Christianity entirely. It's sort of the degree to which religion boxes people in and sort of keeps people from having intimacy with those in their lives and because of some differences.
Yeah, exactly. And also, the lack of acceptance may come from outside of religion, like who knows? And I had an experience which is sort of similar to what you were saying in terms of when we filmed the screen at Tribeca last year, a woman had seen the film and she actually was a friend of the writer, which is how I got to find out about it, because 3 months later I was back in New York and this woman wanted to meet me and she wanted to tell me that her daughter was a lesbian and she had not been able to accept her daughter's partner, just didn't want to have anything to do with that part of her daughter's life, and she'd seen the film and I don't know, she didn't really explain what, but she just said she suddenly realised, was questioning what has she been doing? Why has she done that? And she said in the last 3 months she'd reached out and begun to have a relationship with her daughter's partner, and she was like crying as she's telling me this because, it just happened. And so obviously what you were saying, it's not always that it's going to happen that quickly, but that if we can hold that as being a possibility, even if it takes 5 years, but staying open to that and creating that space and open communication and truth between each other, then, the space is there for that to potentially exist.
I agree completely. I think we have time for Q&A.
Yeah, let's open it up.
Anyone have?
Somebody has to be brave.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, of course, as it went up, I enjoyed it, but I wanted to see perhaps
you win the award and what would happen.
Oh, no.
And then have Cyril on get after it. Because I was thinking,
Wrong movie.
You do realize Beverly was insane. Okay, good. I know, heavens to Betsy. I mean, this was something we thought about from the very beginning.
Well, the photos are in the credits.
Yes, we did the photos under protest. I'm glad. I did not want an answer.
Yeah.
I did not want to wrap it up in a nice little package and say, you know, oh look, she's done pretty much the right thing, so she gets the award. That's not what it was about. I mean, she didn't want to win the award to win the award. She thought it was her soul at risk. You know, so it wasn't about winning, it was about the absolution.
But then showing that the family does care for her and
The
then
family
church
showed
see
up
the
for
family.
her.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
the answer.
I thought it was great.
Thank you. Glad you liked it. Well, you are amazing.
There was someone over here. Was that had a question?
I let me first say I thought the movie was fantastic. The acting was fantastic. And one of the questions I had as I was watching it, because it was such a believable character, the mother, is how did you prepare for that role?
Well, you can start with a really bad wig.
But it was perfect for the character. It might have looked extra bad than that.
Not to mention the wardrobe. It was a running joke, you know, for every single time. Kathleen, would you like to take this outfit home?
We tried.
That is so kind, but no. Look, to me, the hook, the thing that first, you know, got me thinking about Eileen, because for me it's always the script that starts any process, was she was a good woman, is a good woman. She's not intolerant. She's not even overly judgmental, I think, in and of herself. But how in the world can she profess to follow this extremely rigid code of behavior and make it work in the real world? I mean, that was my first thought, is how the hell can she pull this off? Well, obviously, she doesn't. I mean, not without changing and learning, and that's always the attraction to me when my imagination starts to work a character. It's what happens to her, and Eileen does go through passage, you know. But as in how you act it, you just beat her. It's my job. Thank you.
I had a feeling toward the end of the film when she got out and walked out, that at that moment she was having an epiphany, that she had realized that everything she had done up to then was something that had to be reformed, or whatever you want to call it. You know, change her.
There was a short thing that was cut in the confession,
Yes.
where she said, in talking about it, she said, you know, are you costing me too much? Are you asking too much? Are you asking me for my family? Which is inconceivable. Well, we didn't need it, that, because that was pretty clear, I think, as it was. But that was obviously the price that would have been too great for her. Yes?
It was a nice story. It's told very straightforward manner, which I appreciate. I was waiting for some trick or something, but it was really nicely done, just very straightforward. What kind of audience do you hope this movie finds, both of you? Like, who do you want to see it? Who do you want to experience it?
Anyone who has a mother. No, but really, I really hope that it appeals to like a universal audience. I mean, I've had people from all different demographics see the movie. I had a young boy come up to me when we played at a film festival in Phoenix. I don't even know, he was probably 20, and he said to me, "Don't take this the wrong way." And I was like, okay. And he said, "But this is a movie I could take my grandma to." And he said, "That never happened. There's never, I'm so excited you're playing in Phoenix because I'm going to take my grandma." So I feel like, you know, it's a movie that you can take your mum to, or mothers could take their kids, you know, grown kids to, or whatever. So I'm hoping it's a wide. I don't think we've really sort of pigeonholed the audience in that way necessarily, so we'll see.
I think it's important that all of us feel that this is not proselytizing. You know, we're not proponents of any cause per se or religion. This is about people, about a family, about pretty much unconditional love, I think, and the support that you find there. So in that sense, it would be suitable for almost anyone. We didn't do it thinking, you know, that we would have a target audience that we needed to hit, as it were.
I'll just say though that I think that there's an incredible hunger for films like this in communities all across the country. I just made a documentary called Love for Your Die about Bishop D. Robinson, who courageously has led the movement within the church to be openly gay, and as a result has been a catalyst for church state change. PFLAG is an extraordinary network in the U.S. You know, PFLAG.
Yeah.
And I've never seen such a desire for films to share with their families. Not to mention, just yesterday, I think on the cover of the New York Times, there was an article about faith-based audiences for Broadway. So I think that the sort of flip side of the conservative faith-based world, there's a progressive faith-based world that's desperate too for films like this. So I think there are all kinds of ways to market a film that's this needed.
Thank you. Speaking of that just made me realize I wanted to introduce to you our producers because they're here. And these two women are extremely creative, intelligent people, and it was such a gift to have them. This was my first film, and they worked with me every step of the way to, you know, really get it to where it was. So I wanted to introduce Jennifer Dubin and Cora Elsie.
Thank you, and I believe we have time for one more question.
My question is, will this movie go international at any point? Because I think I'm Latino American, so this is so to the core of the Latin community as far as the Catholic Church and religion. I come from that background and I've gone to different parts of the world. Latin America. Sudamericano, sí. Mi madre es de Argentina, mi padre es de Colombia.
Yo de Venezuela.
Oh, sí?
Así.
And so I was just about something Spanish. So I went to the Dominican Republic recently, and I realized that we're so fortunate here in the United States to be able to be, even though we get criticized, and even though there was a lot of stigma, that I can walk freely, especially in New York, and do as I can here, with my part. But in the Dominican Republic, I saw it so secret and so scarce and so we're watching it.
Yeah.
So I feel like this movie, especially this movie, because it's so to the core of the Catholic Church, and it's so in the core in the Caribbean countries in South America, that this movie would do really, really well for people who are suppressed.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. We have been told that, but we're working on it. You know, that's our intention. Our intention is to be able to get it out, and we're just trying to figure out the best way to do that. So,
when it comes out, I'm going to send it.
fantastic.
Well, I just want to thank the center for having us, and
just one more thing. Just wanted to let you know this is an independent release, so we're releasing the film with a company. So if you liked the film, it would be a huge help. Like if you could post it on your Facebook page or email people and tell them about it, whatever method you have to communicate with people. We're opening in New York and LA May the 4th, and also we're going to be on demand nationwide that date as well, and on iTunes. And then we're rolling out May 11th to more cities. But our website, it's on our website. It's theperfectfamilymovie.com. So you can find out all the information about where we're playing.